Hello and welcome to the Rooted Learning Podcast, where we discuss a range of topics under the umbrella of multiculturalism. I am Akbal, and my guest today is here to discuss hidden disabilities, being South Asian, British, racism, culture, books, and maybe a few extra bits that we randomly stumble into. She is my niece, she is Sukhjeen, and she is chronically brown on Instagram. Welcome, Sukhjeen.
Hi, it's really great to be here.
So you've been here for quite a few hours already, actually, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. You tore my ear off.
Yeah, I feel like we've had quite a good family catch up, but then I feel a little dry mouthed and all talked out as well. I don't know how you're feeling.
I'm tired.
Tired.
I was already tired when I got here.
Oh dear. Well, I hope this goes well. Yeah, so we are here to talk about your condition mainly. You've got a hidden disability, so I don't know if you can just share with our audience what that condition is.
Yeah, so I have rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia. Rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease, which basically just means my immune system is overactive and attacks my joints because it thinks my joints are bad cells. Yeah, I've had it for 2 years. I'm coping here and there, but medication isn't all there either, so it's not the best at the moment.
Yeah, so if I just take you back, when did you get diagnosed and what were the symptoms that were being displayed that concerned you enough to need to seek out medical intervention?
It didn't concern me at first. I had a bit of pain in my right wrist. Thought it was carpal tunnel syndrome. I ignored it, went to uni, put on a splint. Yeah, I just kind of ignored it for probably 2-3 months. And then my mum basically forced me to go to a GP because she said it was too long. They said it was something to do with the way I was writing and they thought I should go see physio. Went to physio and by then it had progressed so much that it was in my hands. Then they gave me steroids and they basically kept saying multiple times over and over again, I'm too young for arthritis, which is honestly the most frustrating thing I ever heard because what else could it have been? Yeah, and I think about 2 or 3 months after that I got a diagnosis because my hands were literally shaped in claws and I could not move them. They were so stiff and so I couldn't do anything, and I was at university so I couldn't type, I couldn't write. I was basically at home constantly.
So you felt quite crippled.
Yeah, I couldn't open doors.
You couldn't open doors?
No.
So this kind of just stumbled upon you out of nowhere pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't know, I know we were discussing it earlier and I'm so naive to this condition. I don't understand it. I didn't know it was hereditary.
Yeah.
Which means potentially I'm carrying the gene and I can pass it on. Because obviously we've had a lot of your grandparents, my parents, your mum's parents passed away, and we don't really know our health history, do we? So that was a little problem for you as well, wasn't it? When
it was a problem with my consultant mainly because to diagnose they want to know family history, and because they don't know family history, and you don't really want to go through that when you're already talking about something so severe. It's hard to explain to health professionals why you don't know. And you can't go, no, it's not in my family, because you literally don't know, and it could be. And it's coming clear that it may well be actually. It came out of nowhere. It literally came out of nowhere.
And it was your first year at university?
Yeah.
And how did that impact your start to university?
It was not the best at all. I remember going to university for the first few weeks and I just ignored it. Everything was fine. I made friends, it was all great, and then all of a sudden my friends disappeared because I couldn't move, I couldn't go out, I didn't want to drink, I was too tired. And they just basically thought I was coming up with all these excuses, and then when I did get my diagnosis they actually felt too uncomfortable to be around me because no 19-year-olds have arthritis. Like, it's very unheard of, and I think they got so uncomfortable that they just stopped talking to me.
And it's quite a crippling form of arthritis you have as well,
Yeah.
isn't it? I mean, I know you've had to use sticks.
Yeah, crutches.
Crutches, yeah.
Yeah.
And you have that, don't you? And you've come to visit me a couple of times in Bristol, and Bristol's quite a hilly city.
Yeah.
You can't walk around here.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah. Yeah, because even all universities are in cities, so it's hard getting around, and because I didn't have any of friends to be supported on, because I moved away for university, I didn't have my family to rely on or anything. I had to get my food myself, but I could barely move. It was a difficult situation, and it basically ended up being that my parents drove 2 hours every week to just give me food, even heat up food for me and make food for me, because I couldn't do it myself. I mean, I was kind of lucky to be in a situation where I could actually have my own shower and go to the toilet and get up from the toilet, because it was, my knees were bad as well. So yeah,
it sounds like it could easily consume your thoughts, your day-to-day life. It can consume you when the pain is so crippling. That's all you can think about. How did you manage to cope with your studying on top of that?
I didn't. I went to the university once I finally got my diagnosis after so long. I went to the university to hopefully defer the year. I think around this time it was about November, and they basically told me you can't do that. They basically forced me into carrying on and finishing the year, so I did the bare minimum. I did the bare minimum.
So was that a lack of understanding from the university?
Yeah.
In terms of mental health then, did that really affect your mental health as well, that first year and struggling with your diagnosis?
Yeah, it did impact me, because it felt like nobody understood what was going on or how to help me, and if I'm honest, I didn't know how they could help me either, because it was so new to me. So yeah, it did feel really isolating, if anything. Yeah.
And I guess it's a hidden disability as well. I mean, even I'm sitting opposite you, and you look so beautiful, and you've got your makeup on, and you've got that lovely nature about yourself as well, and you carry yourself so nicely. It can easily be kind of, people wouldn't even recognize or realize that actually inside you're suffering. So how have you coped with other people just assuming you're fine, you're okay?
I think it depends on the day, because if I'm in a lot of pain, I've come across very blunt and rude. Because
no offense, that might just be a family trait.
No, I don't. No, I think it's the pain, and it just gets to me so much that I don't want to deal with other people. But then there are points where I do want to just explain it a little bit and have people understand, especially with people that do actually want to support me and do want to actually learn why it is I have it and how it impacts me in certain ways and stuff. But I mean, I had one incident at uni where I was using the disabled lift, and a lot of staff members seem to use this disabled lift. I'm not sure why. And I got on it with my crutches, and this cleaner lady came in and she said, "Oh, did you injure yourself?" I was like, because I was not having a good day. I won't lie, I was not having a good day. I went, "No, I have arthritis." And she was like, "Arthritis? I have that in my 3 fingers." I was like, wow, this woman is going to make my day worse. Really? You're on a disabled lift and you're asking someone why they're disabled? Like, it blew my mind. So from her perspective, arthritis is just a small thing and it affects older people, and it's, you know, her 3 fingers, it's kind of patronizing, but from her perspective, she just doesn't know any different, does she, that it can be quite a crippling condition. It almost came across that she didn't believe me and that I was lying. I had one person that I said, this is the first time I'd ever said it to a friend at uni, and because I was using the same lift and I was getting on the disabled lift, and she was like, "Oh, I'll come with you." And I was like, "Okay, that's great." And she's like, "Oh, we'll be being lazy today then." And I was like, no, I have arthritis. And she laughed at me. She thought I was joking.
Yeah.
But actually, even though it didn't, she wasn't doing it in a harmful way, it still hurt me because it was like, no one's ever going to believe me. They're
Yeah.
just going to think I'm always lying. I wasn't
Yeah.
using crutches that day.
And how is it? Because I do want to kind of think about it culturally as well. How do you
Yeah.
feel like there's a difference when it comes to having a hidden disability and then also being South Asian within the South Asian community? Do you feel like there's a difference, positive or negative? I'm not sure which way you'll see it. There might be
Yeah.
both aspects that impact your life.
I think, I don't want to be too negative, but I do think it's more negative than it is positive. Just because when I do speak to others, they try to understand it, whereas I feel like being South Asian, they don't want to understand how it impacts you. They just go, oh, okay, and then they expect you to be the advocate for your own illness and constantly talk about it, and you get a bit tired of saying it over and over again, and or having people just ignore you, like it's no big deal. You can walk up 10,000 stairs. What are you talking about? You're the same person I saw like 2 years ago. Like it.
So would you say there's a bit more ignorance
Yes.
within the South Asian community, and
Yeah.
they're more resistant to wanting to learn?
I think it comes from the fact that they can't see it.
They need to physically see you
Yeah.
crippled, maybe in a wheelchair,
Yeah.
to appreciate that there's a disability there.
Yeah. I kind of compare it to how they view mental health as well.
I was just thinking that because I was
Yeah.
obviously thinking back to my mother,
Yeah.
and that's also a stigma in Indian culture where,
Yeah.
you know, suicide, mental health, and depression. We've come a long way, but still, I think we've got so
A
much
lot,
work to
yeah.
do there to
Yeah.
overcome stigma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I compare it as in, because they don't, because they can't see it, they think that you're fine and you're making something up, but they don't really know what is going on in your head. And when you, certain mental health issues, you can't actually verbalize what is going on because you don't know yourself. And it's exactly the same for physical illness. I don't know what's going on myself, but I'm trying to explain it so that you can be a bit more compassionate and just a bit more understanding that it's not
Yeah.
it's real. It's real. I'm
Yeah.
not making it up.
So sometimes you kind of feel like you're not getting, what can I say? They're not taking it seriously. That's
Yeah.
what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, they don't take it seriously.
I get that. I mean, like you said, I think it is very, very much like how they treat mental illness, and there is so much learning necessary. But one thing that you have started, I mentioned it in your little intro, was Chronically Brown
Yeah.
on Instagram. Do you want to talk about that, your motivation behind it, the response you've had to it, the people you've met and spoken to through
Yeah.
it?
Chronically Bound's actually a really funny one because I actually started it because of my family and other friends and just people around me. They didn't fully understand arthritis and how can it impact literally everything. So I thought, oh, maybe I could just do stories and posts about literally everything in my life so you can see how that does. That I wake up, take medication, I can't move, you know, just little things like that. They do, it becomes a lot more, and then that's when it becomes hurtful to your mental health as well. And that I just wanted to talk about my arthritis, if I'm honest, in this. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden I had messages from other South Asians who had like similar conditions, and they were saying how they're also chronically brown. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, actually they people are like responding to just my name, not even just my illness, and how they had certain issues with their family members where they weren't allowed to use wheelchairs even though
Really?
they couldn't move.
Did they explain why they weren't allowed to use wheelchairs?
Their families, their parents stopped them.
Is that a
or
shame thing?
It's a shame thing, yeah.
Wow.
It was being disabled was shameful, and they had to hide it. They had to hide medication. They had to hide that they were in pain and just put on a good face and look good for everyone else so that they didn't show their disability in any kind of aspect. when I heard word of this, like from multiple people, I
And
just
are these all UK
most of them,
South Asians, really?
yeah, but there is people from America, I think Canada. God, there's even some in India.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, they're all over the world. They're all experiencing the exact same.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that's when I decided I was gonna share their stories and make it obvious to people how wrong it is to stop someone being able to work in a different way and being able to have a wheelchair or crutches or having medication. Just
Yeah.
like medication is okay to take and it's not a bad thing. Yeah.
It's fascinating, isn't it? It's really interesting how far and wide. You're a second generation Indian
Yeah.
in the UK,
Yeah.
and still it's stuck with you. You've just spoken about other people reaching out to you through Chronically Brown,
Yeah.
about similar situations. You're probably luckier than quite a lot of them because you've got quite
Yeah.
a liberal type of family unit around you
Yeah.
in general, but still. You've struggled, and then on top of that, to hear that other people are, their families are happily allowing them to struggle with their disability, hide it,
Yeah.
attaching shame to it.
Yeah.
Um, and it might be linked to the fact that they have all these anxieties themselves. Some people are still in that old mentality where they
Yeah.
think, oh, how is my daughter going to get married in the future,
Yeah.
and who
Have
would
kids.
who would
Yeah.
who would marry her, and
Yeah.
if they knew about her disability. And I think that's really like something that needs to change dramatically
Yeah,
and soon.
it's a shame that a lot of people, when I ask them if they were able to share their story on my page, that they feel like they can't because family members will find it, family members will see it, and I've even had someone that posted her story and she had to tell me that it needed to be deleted because a
Wow.
family member saw it, and obviously I did it straight away because I completely
Of course,
understand.
yeah.
But that's when I realised that I have kind of a privilege to be able to share. Well, I can't speak now.
That's all right.
Able to share about my arthritis so publicly and have no repercussions from my parents and
Yeah.
everybody else. That they're okay with me talking about it.
I mean, they've been amazing, your parents, haven't
Yeah.
they? And just speaking to your mum earlier, family around you as well have stepped in. Me less so. I've been living in my nice little bubble in Bristol. I'm not going to lie, but it's nice to catch up and find out how
Yeah.
life has been going. But family around you have been checking in, and all the Indian remedies have been lined up for you, and that's lovely, isn't it? But
Yeah.
are there any negatives to that as well?
Yeah, mainly the remedies. That's been a negative because it's almost like they think I can't handle my own house myself, even though it is a big job and it's basically a full-time job doing and looking after my health. I don't need help unless I ask for it.
Yeah.
And although it's really nice and I know it comes from a good place, all these remedies, and that they really do want to try and help me, but I am able and old enough to look after myself, and if I need help, I know I can come to you. That's it. I don't
Yeah.
need the remedies.
Yeah, more, yeah, power to the women.
Yeah.
Yeah, independent women.
Yeah, I think that's something that they miss as well, actually, that I can be independent even though I have this condition.
Yeah.
I'm a lot less independent than I was at 18, but I still am able to go to university, and not all the time, but can cook for myself. I can
Yeah.
take care of myself, so I'm not doing badly that they need to intervene in any way either.
No, you've done a great job so far. You just mentioned going in to university and stuff, but
Yeah.
obviously with COVID, there's been a lot going on. Universities are having to bring their learning online, but also during COVID, I know we're out of the lockdown, and but potentially there might be a second peak and we'll be back in it. But obviously at the start of COVID-19 with the lockdown, we had all over the newspapers. I think the BAME community was highlighted as a high risk, and obviously with your immunosuppressant disease,
Yeah.
disability.
Well, the medication makes me immunosuppressant.
Oh, the
but yeah.
medication makes you
Yeah.
See, this is how uneducated I am. So there you are. How did that kind of? How did you cope with that? Was it worrying? Did you were you more scared than usual?
It was worrying. It was worrying from probably January. When everyone
Yeah.
else was worried in March, I was worried from January. I was wearing gloves constantly so I didn't touch anything. I took them off as soon as I got home, and that was washing my hands constantly, having showers constantly when I
Yeah.
got back from uni. I was constantly watching everything that I was doing. That was stressful, but then when it got to March and then I was claimed as high risk, and then I couldn't leave my house at all, it got even more worrying. And then there was a lot of stuff in the media about how, oh, well, you're okay unless you have health conditions. You won't die
Yeah.
if you won't get health conditions. So it was kind of like, it was worse for me because I was hearing that I was gonna die if I had COVID.
Yeah.
Like it was very extreme, and I didn't think that the media thought of how it's not just old people with health issues. There
Yeah.
is the young that also have health issues. Yeah, it was a
So-
stressful period.
I bet it was.
All
I
in
mean,
all.
I was quite laid back with the whole situation up until March when I got quite ill. And then even I was in panic mode. So I appreciate just how stressful it must have been for you.
Yeah.
I was going to move on now. I was going to ask you about something different, actually. I was going to ask you about growing up. Can we move on to racism?
Yeah, go on. I haven't spoken
well,
about
we've
this. I
talked
always
about
talk about illness.
Black and minority ethnic communities being affected by COVID. But then at the same time, simultaneously, we had the whole Black Lives Matter
Yep.
protests. George Floyd was murdered by a police officer. And I think everything just coincided. And I know how passionate you are about Black Lives Matter, about anything
Yeah.
related to equal rights.
Yeah.
And I'd just love to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's how I came up with the name Chronically Brown,
Okay.
because those are the two things that I constantly had, I came across problems with. The fact that I was brown and the fact
Yeah.
that I was chronically ill. That's how it came
It's
across.
a cool name, by the way. I do
Thank
like
you.
it.
So actually, yeah, I never speak before my illness, but I had constant reminders that I was ugly for being brown.
Really?
My name was such a big issue, like, oh, suck jeans. Oh, you suck jeans. And I was like, it was such a stupid thing, but obviously it hurts you after a while.
Yeah.
I got told off for bullied for facial hair, my arm hair. I started growing that back recently just because I don't have the energy to shave
You're
my
a
arms
real
anymore.
feminist, aren't you?
I don't have the energy anymore, but back then it did affect me to the point where I was like shaving everything before I went to school.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was the most quietest kid ever just because they had muted me down so much that I didn't feel like I could speak. Because if
Yeah.
I did speak, they were going to find something else to take the pick out.
Yeah. Take the mick out of you.
Take
yeah.
the mick
You're
out.
doing what I normally do.
I'm tired now. You
I
drained
drained
me.
you.
You drained me.
We were rabbiting on for so long.
Oh, man.
I did worry. Oh gosh, I think I've emptied my resources for the day. I don't know how we're going to do this podcast, but so far I think we're doing a good job.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hope so anyway.
Yeah. So it was a predominantly middle class
Yeah.
white area
Yeah.
that you went to school in.
Yeah. I think I know in primary school I was the only coloured kid at all in my year group. Might have been
Yeah, in
school,
your-
I'm not sure.
In your year group.
Yeah, and then I think in secondary school there was a couple more, but it was because it wasn't a lot. I was the only coloured kid in all of my classes.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember one time the register was such a big anxiety for me because there was this one
name.
teacher.
Yeah.
This one teacher. She would always see my name and look up for the brown kid and then just tick me off. She would never say my
Oh,
name out
wow.
loud or anything. And obviously back then it angered me, but I never spoke up about it because I didn't know why it was
That's
so. Yeah.
so incredible, just for teachers to not learn the names of their students.
It's like making it
And
okay for the kids to say things, and
precisely. And it's not hard. This is what I was discussing in my second blog about my name.
yeah,
It's 2 syllables.
yeah.
You know, I know plenty of English Western names that are 4 syllables. That's not a problem.
And you
Um,
say it how it's spelt.
precisely. And so I've never understood that I've broken it down. I've said it slowly, and it's always been tricky for people to say
Yeah.
my name. And it's not that it's tricky, it's just that it's too much effort and they can't, and it sounds too different, and it's like it's a lack of wanting to try to
Yeah.
say my name properly.
Yeah. I was.
Yeah.
I went to a pharmacy recently because it was a hospital pharmacy to pick up my medication, and this pharmacist was having such a trouble with my name. I said it to him. Obviously, I was wearing a mask because I was in a hospital. He was wearing a mask too, so maybe I was muffled a bit. I don't know. But then I spelt it out for him. Still couldn't find my prescription. Then he said, "Can you write it down with this very dirty pen?" Now I'm very mindful of the fact that I'm immunosuppressed, so I wasn't going to touch this pen. So it was very scribbled down. You couldn't really read it. Then I tried to get something like type it out for him. He couldn't find it. He made me feel so odd and different and just ugly for having a name that he couldn't find. He made me feel like I was making
But
his
why
job harder.
hard? So you're kind of just a nuisance in a way.
Yeah, for
But
having
why,
a
why
different
do you
name.
say ugly? Because you've said that a couple of times now, and obviously you're beautiful. And it's weird how something can stick, and then they can make that your external
Yeah.
environment, your external experiences can really impact on the way you see yourself.
Yeah, I don't think that my name or myself is ugly, but I did at one point because of the way people reacted to me or the way people made me feel. So whenever I think back to it, I just go ugly again.
Yeah.
But now I don't think that anymore. I love my name. I prefer people to say my name than any other nickname.
Yeah, it sounds a bit like me. For example, I used to, I'm quite a fair-skinned Indian, aren't I? I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily that dark. And
I think I am too, to be
I do
honest.
like to be in the sun, and I do like to get brown, but I'd always make really mean comments to myself afterwards. I'd say, "Oh, look, I'm dirty.
Yeah.
I've got dirty skin." And the Indian word for it is meli. Meli, which means kind of, when you haven't scrubbed yourself in a few days and you've gathered, all your dead skin cells and stuff, and
Yeah.
you need to have a good wash. Basically, I used to joke and say, "Oh, I look like I need to have a good wash. My skin has tanned so much, it just looks dirty," basically. And it was just, I don't know if it's social conditioning. I don't know
I
what it
think
is or
so.
where it comes from, but I love the sun and I like to get a tan. But abroad, it always looks nice, doesn't it? You come back to UK weather and you're just feeling a little kind of melly. That's the word.
Yeah.
So, but even most recently, especially with Black Lives Matter kicking off, I really want to fight against those type of ideals where in South Asian communities they celebrate fair skin, and they will go to effort to bleach
Yeah.
their skin and
Yeah.
get a fairer, and they will stay out of the sun. I don't want to stay out of the sun. I like the sun and I like getting darker.
But
It's simple.
the sun, especially in the UK, because we're dark skinned, we need vitamin D. If we don't have the vitamin D and we're avoiding the sun because our skin is going to get darker, that actually leads to health problems as well.
Precisely, and that I think they think the BAME community have been affected by COVID. That might be one of the reasons why we're not getting that vitamin. We've got vitamin D deficiencies, and in the UK, everyone has a vitamin D deficiency, and everyone
Yeah.
should be taking supplements. But especially if you have more melanin in your skin,
Yep.
it takes a lot longer for you to absorb vitamin D into your skin and into your immune system.
Yeah.
So it's even more important that we get out into the sunshine. But again, we've got all these hang-ups, haven't we? Where
Yeah.
we're happy to allow our health to be affected, because to us, how we look on the
To
outside
others, yeah.
to others, just like you mentioned about your people reaching out from the South Asian community who
Yeah.
are also chronically brown,
Yeah.
and talking about having to hide their disability. I mean, that's just not acceptable, is it?
No.
And I'm not criticizing parents or family members who are encouraging that type of behavior, but there needs to be some education
Yeah.
around that.
To realise why it's wrong, and just to support your child more than the viewpoints of others would be nice. Like, I don't understand what's wrong with using a wheelchair. That they will be able to then go out, and their mental health would be skyrocketing so much better if they were able to go out and just in a different way. That's it. They're just not
Yeah.
walking. That's it.
Yeah.
And
But
the
when that
condition may
shame-
even be better
yeah,
for it.
Exactly, but when that shame has been deeply embedded in you, it takes
Yeah.
a lot of kind of relearning, reprogramming in a way. And we know that through neuroscience and neural networks. And once those are established, we can rewire our brain, but it does take effort, and it takes the want to do it as well. You need to want to do it and make that change. In terms of your illness, how do you feel like it sounds like it's empowered you, but how has it empowered you?
It's empowered me to make a change. I think after the racism from like being at school in a middle class white area, I was tired then of being different and that it was bad to be different. And then I went to university, and obviously it was nothing like that. It was all okay that I was brown and I was different. But then I was diagnosed, and then my friends just disappeared, and it was again, I was different. And
Can I just say, when you say different, it was your skin colour you're talking about?
yeah, as in
Yeah.
my skin colour. But when I went to uni and then I was diagnosed, I was different for
because
being
of your disability.
yeah,
on
for
top
being
of that.
disabled. Yeah. And I was just kind of sick of it. I was just sick of feeling I was okay being different, but people made me feel like it wasn't okay to be different.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be okay to be different.
The funny
That's
thing
what
is,
empowered me.
Yeah. And the
Yeah.
funny thing is, you always hear these big bold statements. We were born to stand out. But
Yeah.
then as soon as you do stand out,
No,
you're
not like that.
excluded from society. And
Yeah.
not like that.
Yeah.
Maybe quieten your voice a little. Kind
Yeah.
of just fade away a little.
It
Yeah.
really annoys me.
Yeah, I can tell from your posts and the few times you've texted me about certain issues around race. I can just really hear the passion.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what books have you been reading? Because the last time I popped by, I saw that you were reading Inglorious Britain, which is a
Yeah.
book that I was really keen to get. I haven't got it yet. So how are you getting on with that?
Oh, right now the fatigue is so bad I haven't actually read much of it. I did get to read it a little bit last night, and it infuriated and angered me so much that I got tired again. So I couldn't even get through. I think I read 10 pages.
Really?
It was so bad.
What was it that infuriated you?
It was a lot of things, actually. Just the way they did it, the fact that they were breaking thumbs to get what they wanted out of the East India Company.
So if we just give a bit of background, this is
Yeah.
about Britain first arriving to India. This was before the British Raj. This would be around the 1600s. 1600 was when it all kicked off, actually. So the British have arrived to set up their trading ports.
Yep.
Yep. So you can carry on from there.
Yeah. So they were breaking thumbs to get what they wanted. They were just ruthless, and just taking what they wanted like it was theirs and claiming everything. And I mean, I didn't get really far with it.
Because you got angry
Yeah.
and drained from your rage.
Yeah.
Mental
I
rage.
don't. That book might take me a really long time to
That's-
get through.
That's good, because it should be, and it should be emotive, and we should be hearing this version of the narrative. It
Yes.
shouldn't be just the whitewashed version that
Yeah.
I know I received through my
I
education.
received that too. Yeah.
Precisely, and it's always celebrated. Just even like Sir Francis Drake is celebrated for being the second to circumnavigate the world. But even his involvement in the slave trade, I
Yeah.
wasn't taught about it.
Yeah.
So there's just so much missing, and it does anger you when you realise that, hold on, the British came to India, they went to the West Indies, they colonised,
Yeah.
they completely depleted the wealth in that country,
Yeah, the resources,
the
took everything,
resources,
yeah.
and they you know, everything that we see and what we experience, modern Britain and everything, was off the back of colonial Britain and the British Empire.
Yeah.
And the very people that, if we want to say this, that they stole from,
Yeah.
annexed, abused,
Yeah.
mass genocide, we're getting told to go back to our own countries.
Yeah.
And I can see how infuriating it is. And, you know, if you believe in, like, I know this is just a minority who will be that blatant in their racism, but it is still happening. And again, it
Yeah.
all comes back to education for me.
Yeah. It's not just makes me angry to read it and then realize that I was never taught this.
Yeah.
I was taught something else. So that angers me as well. Not
Yeah.
just what happened, but the fact that I was never told this. And I was never told this because they don't want us to know.
Precisely. But then I always wonder why it was, maybe I was too young to listen or appreciate it, and maybe there was too much trauma in my family for us to have these deeper, meaningful conversations, because we're all just in fight or flight. I do feel like, well, our family never really educated us, you know, in our
Yeah.
history deeply enough, or we just weren't ready to listen then.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like there's a gap there as well. I mean, when I
Yeah.
first started paying attention was when I did my undergraduate, and my specialism was history. And I thought, I'm going to focus, when we were looking at modern Britain, I chose to focus on the British Indian Army. And through that, I found out about a bit more about my history, found out about the East India Company,
Yeah.
the Indian National Army as well, which was in a kind of fighting against the Brits. They just wanted independence.
Yeah.
So just learning about our history, I've had to kind of find it out for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. You have to find it all out for yourself, because no one is teaching anyone about what actually happened. And it does make me wonder if immigrants like ourselves, our older generations, they came here and they felt like they couldn't say what actually happened because they were in the country.
Yeah.
They were in the country that did it
But
in a way.
It's not just that, they wanted to fit in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I remember my family coming here in the 60s, well, your family, I'm forgetting. So your grandparents would have been coming here in the 60s. So with my grandmother, your great-grandmother, who is
Yeah.
still alive, I've been saying she's nearly 100 for so long now. I'm pretty sure she's probably past 100 now.
I was told she's in her early 90s.
She is not in her early 90s.
I don't believe it, to be honest, but I'm just going to go with it because I don't really know.
I'm just always like, she's nearly 100. I'm just going to go with 99, but I have been saying 99 for a few years now.
Yeah.
So I feel like when they first arrived in the UK, you know, they cut their hair, they became big meat eaters, and those are things that Sikhism says, you know, if you're
Yeah.
a baptized Sikh, don't cut your hair and don't eat meat and don't take intoxicate yourself with alcohol and
Yeah.
smoking, etc. And they did all of those things.
Yeah.
And it was in the 70s, mid-70s, where a nice Sikh community had formed, where they kind of found their own faith and
Yeah.
started wearing turbans again. And the first Sikh temple was built in Smethwick, I think it was. So in the Midlands, there was kind of a nice little Sikh community developing there, and they kind of,
Yeah.
so it became trendy to be a baptized Sikh again.
Yeah.
So that's why our family became quite religious. But prior to that, when they first arrived here, they were completely trying to fit in
Yeah.
with British culture.
I can imagine that. Because even though we weren't immigrants and I am British, I felt the same.
Yeah.
Growing up in a white area, I felt like I had to fit in, and I had to be quiet when they told me I was too dark or like my name is ugly or whatever, because I wanted to be like them.
Yeah,
I don't want that anymore.
thankfully.
I like who I am. Back then I just wanted to be.
It's interesting,
Yeah.
isn't it? Because I don't know, if you know this, I think you do, that I'm quite spiritual,
Yeah.
and there is no them and us. When you really think about it, there is
Yeah.
no them and us.
Yeah.
I can relate to you, and I can relate to the next person, and
Yeah.
it doesn't matter who we are. We're all just having this human experience. We're
Yeah,
just all
yeah.
bumbling along and trying to find our way in life. Again, for young people as well, it's an identity thing, isn't it? They're
Yeah.
trying to figure themselves out. You're standing out. It's easy to pick on someone who looks a little different.
Yeah. So that the attention doesn't go to them instead.
Yeah, maybe. And so we never know what another person's story is, but you know, it's so important to tell your story,
Yeah.
so other people can relate. And I just think it's so amazing that you started Chronically Brown, and people are reaching out to you, and you've turned your disability, your diagnosis, into something so positive.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing it wasn't always like that. And how did it affect your mental health?
I was just really isolated. I can't say it was anything specific because I'm not really sure myself, but because I felt different again, it kind of felt like I was going through what I was as a kid, and it was just a very new experience. And obviously when you have been diagnosed, you're learning how to use and be in a body that is not the same. You're learning how to basically walk again. You're learning how to eat the right foods again.
Is it that crippling?
Yeah, I can't eat gluten, can't have milk.
And this is all part of your diagnosis, that your gluten...
I think it's come from my medication,
Okay.
but there's no way to know for sure. It came shortly after my diagnosis, so it could be. But because everything was a whirlwind, it just... It all came in one go, that I was changing so much in such a short space of time, so that affected my mental health as well. I just wanted to speak out about it. I just couldn't stay quiet anymore.
It's impressive. So where do people find you if they were to source you out on social media?
So I'm on Instagram, Chronically Brown. I'm on Facebook, this Chronically Brown again, and then Twitter is Chronic Brown. That's shorten my name. But the social media.
Chronically Brown. Is there anything that you would, because we're going to wrap it up now, can you believe it? We've talked for over 40 minutes.
I'm kind of proud of myself. That I actually stayed awake.
Wow. She would fall asleep in my company. That's shocking.
No, this is part of the fatigue of the condition. This is how it is, the reality. I can't stay awake for long periods of time and concentrate on something.
Have you been secretly tempted to use it as an excuse when you just want to take yourself away sometimes?
Yeah, mainly the social things. If I can't be bothered, I'd rather stay in bed and just do nothing. So just tell them I'm too tired to move.
But you have just confessed to it now. So what I was just going to ask you, if you could say a few words, if you feel like you have them, of advice maybe to anyone, South Asian community who might be struggling with a hidden disability or a disability or anything. What has been your takeaway that you can offer to others?
I think my takeaway is that speaking out instead of being quiet is the most beneficial thing you could do for your condition. Just saying it as it is. If you're in pain, just say you're in pain. If you need a glass of water for whatever reason, just say to somebody, I need a glass of water, can you do this for me?
So not be afraid to ask for help.
No.
Ask for help.
No. If you need to be in a wheelchair and you need that to have the sense of freedom that you once had, get in that wheelchair. Go. Who cares what they think? I know I had a lot of anxiety when I first started using my crutches, but now I just don't care anymore, because that's what gets me to university.
And you don't feel self-aware using them, being young and thinking that people are looking at you.
No, even when people say it to me, I don't care.
So you own it.
Yeah.
You own it.
You have to own it.
Yeah, so the main thing is speak out.
Speak out, yeah.
Have the confidence, look after your health, look after your mental health.
Yeah.
Liberate yourself.
Yeah. Even if speaking out is literally just asking for, I can't really think of anything right now, but a glass of water. But if that's all it is, that little thing can help you.
Or to say that I just need you to just understand right now, or just to listen.
Yeah.
Because we're always so quick to give our opinions, but we are not the experts, and especially in in Asian culture, we seem to all think we're doctors sometimes.
Yeah, that's the most annoying thing ever.
So try this remedy and try that remedy, and sometimes from the person who's actually suffering, their perspective, they just want you to shut up and just listen.
Yeah.
So
and that person with the condition is the expert. No one else is.
Precisely. Wow, it's been fun talking to you. I think I could have continued and continued and continued. But it is 45 minutes in. So thank you, Sukhjeen. And again, do you want to let everyone know where to find you?
Yeah, Instagram, Chronically Brown, Facebook, Chronically Brown, and Twitter @Chronic Brown.
Woohoo! See ya!
Thank you, bye.